Toyota sells more cars globally than anyone else, period. They are everywhere. And look, they've got a great legacy. They're the go-to brand for resale value and reliability. But we're hearing from you guys that there's a lack of innovation from the giant Japanese car maker. I mean, the new RAV4, it's essentially a rehashed version of the old model, and the same goes for the new Hilux, and you know what I think about that one. Not to mention how my mate Paul has highlighted that Toyota is one of the worst offenders when it comes to combating high-tech car theft.
Using these vulnerabilities, they're able to steal every brand new Toyota and Lexus on sale today.
But at the end of the day, Toyotas survive real-world punishment that often kills other cars. However, the market is changing, and Chinese brands like Chery are disrupting in a big way. Buyers know that Chery is yet to earn its reliability stripes, but they're buying them anyway. And this particular car, the Tiggo 4, is selling like proverbial hotcakes. So we've got the Chery Tiggo 4 versus the Toyota Yaris Cross, the challenger versus the established brand, the disruptor versus the conservatist. In this comparison, I'm gonna test for value for money, cost of ownership, fuel economy, drivability, tech, all of that stuff. So by the end of this video, you'll know whether or not Toyota still has the ascendancy. So what are these cars? They're the entry-level small SUVs for both brands. We're talking 5-seat, 5-door units, cheap to buy, cheap to run, easy to live with. There are more affordable versions of both these vehicles, but these little tackers are plugless hybrids and can run on pure electricity for short periods. They're also loaded with infotainment and safety tech and are proving very popular with buyers right now. That's primarily because they're cheap, and while this top-spec Tiggo 4 Hybrid Ultimate costs about $33,000 drive away, most people are buying the entry-level version, which is $24,000 drive away. The reason we're using the hybrid here is because the Yaris is only available in hybrid, so matchy-matchy, samey-samey. The Toyota Yaris Cross GXL is priced about $1,000 more than the Chery, but that's before on-road costs. This is drive-away price, this is not. So when you add in the drive-away costs, dealer delivery charges, which differ from state to state in Australia and from dealer to dealer, so it pays to shop around, it's gonna end up almost certainly more expensive. But there's a bit of a quandary here, because while the Toyota is going to be a little bit more expensive once you get it on the road, the Chery can be had for $6,000 less without the hybrid gubbins. Toyota, on the other hand, they only sell the hybrid powertrain now. Ultimately, it's a case of pros and cons and what matters to you most. But on balance, the Chery wins this round. Okay, let's look at running costs, and both of them have unlimited kilometre warranties. That's good, but the Chery gets an extra 2 years compared to Toyota. The Toyota's running costs initially appear a little bit cheaper because it costs $255 per annum to service versus $299 per year for the Chery. However, if you factor in the Chery's first year of free roadside assist, which can go up to another 7 years if you service it with a Chery dealer, things start to shift, because this one costs $99 a year for 24/7 roadside assist. So yeah, you're basically paying $355 a year versus $299 a year. That said, the old reliability question rears its head here, because what good is a better warranty if the fundamental vehicle isn't screwed together and engineered diligently? Ultimately, you're going to have more buyers lining up for your 5-year-old Toyota than your 5-year-old Chery. And so it edges ahead in this category. The Chery has been on sale here since late 2024 and looks pretty spiffy with its modern-looking angular design, LED headlights at the front and the back, a roof spoiler and 17-inch alloy wheels. They're shod with Salon E-Range tyres, which I've never heard before, and they could see you sailing right into the tyre shop in 6 months to get rid of them. Then there's the Yaris Cross, which first arrived in 2020 and got an update in 2023, and it certainly looks more conservative than the Chery. It also has alloy wheels, this time with good Yokohama tyres. You've got LEDs at the front, but not the back, and a roof spoiler. It looked cool in 2020. Today, not so much. Okay, the mechanical beating hearts of both these tiny tots are 1.5 litre non-turbo petrol engines. 4-cylinder in the Chery, 3-cylinder in the Toyota, and they both drive the front wheels via a CVT automatic transmission. They both get a little help from electric motors. They're fairly modest, but it's a little more muscular in the Chery, as we discovered during testing. The Chery has a 1.8 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery versus the Toyota's significantly smaller 0.8 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery. And in both vehicles, these batteries are recharged predominantly by the engine, although there is a little bit of regenerative braking that helps. Okay, let's start with the Chery, and this is pretty nice. If you walk into a dealership and you're like, oh, this is the budget car, check it out, and you've got soft touch finishes and big dual screens, this is all very sleek, nice steering wheel, nice gear shifter. It's got a European influence. Yeah, if you walked into a dealership and someone told you this was a budget car, I reckon you'd be like, this is pretty nice. Fit and finish is surprisingly good. The doors don't feel too tinny when they thud shut, and while there are some cheap plastics around, there's also plenty of soft touch materials across all major touch points. The gear shift looks cool and has a pleasing snick when engaged, and the dual zone climate controls are super easy to turn on and off without needing to glance at them. The heated front seats are great. They look sporty, they feel sporty, you've got good bolstering, good support, better than in the Toyota. My only real issue with these is that that backrest is a one-piece design, so these headrests are not adjustable. So taller drivers, take note. The synthetic leather feels pretty good. It doesn't have that vinyl feel of some rivals, and the driver gets 6-way power adjust with 4-way power lumbar. But the front passenger gets 4-way manual adjust. Storage solutions are pretty good for a small SUV. Starts with the central bin, which is pretty big. Then you've got 2 cup holders here. They don't fit my large bottle, but that's okay. They'll fit smaller cups of coffee and that sort of stuff. But I do like the fact you can pull the base out of one of them. So you've got an ultra deep one. You would need a very narrow beverage for that. Little slot here, either for your phone or putting the keys. There's the little key fob there, a little bit fancy. Not actually too bad. It's got a bit of weight to it. I like that. There's also an extra storage area under here, which is really handy. Plus, there's a phone charger there, wireless phone charger. You've got USB-A, USB-C, and a 12-volt socket. Only the USB-A works with wired mirroring with your smartphone. So that's Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. I wish USB-C worked for that as well, for faster charging. But there you go. The glove box, medium-sized. I like that you've got the sunglasses holder. That's cool. And the door pockets are multifaceted and just fit the medium-sized drink bottle. The touchscreen has reasonable response times, not quite as good as the leading players, and the menu system is basic but simple. It's easy to tweak the car's safety systems and infotainment settings, and there's even a setting to adjust brake regen. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are in there, and they work wired or wirelessly, which is good to see. I like that there's physical buttons on this little section here. You've got the drive mode, you've got volume, and you've got 360-degree camera, along with a few others like hazard lights. And I know not everybody wants physical buttons. We do read the comments, but for these main functions, it's nice having them able to access like that. I think that's a good thing. It doesn't have a head-up display, but you don't miss that because this 10-inch digital instrument cluster is actually quite good. It's very vibrant, high-res, easy to read, and there's a fair bit of customizability and some various menus on here, which is good as well, including tire pressure monitoring. So sailing away, baby, sailing away. The reverse camera is excellent. This is something the Chinese brands have done from day dot. So you get 3D mode, transparent car, full screen, partial screen, so much good stuff. Rightio, we're in the Toyota and straight away it feels far more low rent than the Chery. It's not as classy, it's not quite as elegant. There's a few more harder plastics around. And it also feels a little bit tighter. I feel much closer to the other passengers, the back seat, and that's because the car is a little bit smaller when you look at the dimensions. And these 2 screens, they're just very low tech. Ugh. There's less soft touch material in use, but the plastics that cover most of the interior are of a higher quality. The doors close with a similar thud to the Chery, but this gear shifter in the Toyota is just nasty. In fact, the overall design feels pretty dated. The temperature controls are really good though. They're really simple, easy to figure out. I can hit auto and I can adjust the fan speed. I can adjust the temperature. Very quick and easy to do without having to look too much at the controls. However, this only has single zone climate control, not dual zone. like the other vehicle. And these bits here, these are the work harder, get a better job, buy a better car buttons. They're just sort of empty. And damn it, I want heated seats. The front cloth seats have a budget look and feel, but should last well. And while there's no power adjustment for the driver's seat in the Toyota, and they aren't quite as supportive, they are nevertheless comfortable chairs. The Chery wins the storage solutions battle because, well, it's got more storage cubbies and they're all pretty much bigger. Got this little bit in here, you could chuck your phone in there or something, I guess. And I like that it moves up and down. The cup holders are pretty much the same. Out you go, Mozzie. The bottle does kind of fit, but you know, it'd be fine for cups. And I do like the fact they're sort of recessed. So if your coffee spills, it'll all stay in there. That's a good point. One thing I don't love is the fact that these USB-C ports are right here, because when you plug them in, and unlike the Chery, which has them under here, they're harder to get to, but once they're plugged in initially, you're done. Whereas these, I'm getting a lot of spaghetti going on. And I feel like my OCD tendencies want everything to be stored away a little bit, but that's just me. I'm just making that distinction. But yeah, it's one of those things where you can plug your phone in, you can pop it up here. That's a really good little cubby here. That is great. This cubby here with the 12-volt socket, not so good. It's all smooth. Stuff rolls around in there. It's curved. Not great. There's no sunglasses holder. The glove box is smaller, but the door pockets are a little bigger, so that's a plus. The 8-inch touchscreen in the Toyota looks antiquated compared to the fancy setup in the Chery. And while the menu system isn't as intuitive either, it does have plenty of options and adjustability. Refresh rates and touch response is on par with the Chery, if not a little better, which is surprising. And the baked-in GPS sat-nav is good, and one of the few things the Chery misses out on. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto work wired and wirelessly too. Like the Chery, you've got physical controls for major systems, which is nice. You've got the volume control here, temperature controls we've already been through, and a few more down here. So drive mode, like the Chery, but this one has 3 drive modes: normal, power, and eco. And then you've got EV mode, which doesn't always work because the battery's always low, but it's handy to have. Plus, you've got auto hold, which is a nice little feature. Most modern cars have them, but I like the fact it's there. Get up to a set of traffic lights, foot on brake for a second, you come off the brake and it keeps the brakes on. You don't have to keep your foot on the pedal, and then just touch the throttle and away you go. I use it a lot. Andy hates it. Each to their own. Hates it. Hates it. The key fob in the Toyota Yaris Cross is fairly conservative, but it has a nice bit of weight to it. The 7-inch digital instrument display is smaller in the Toyota, but there's more info here. The only problem is that the safety systems can only be manipulated via the steering wheel controls, which makes things a bit fiddly. The Toyota Yaris Cross only has one brake regen setting, but it's easier to access than the touchscreen. So bang, you put it in B, there you go, a little bit of extra charge for the battery. The only difference is this doesn't have 3 settings like the other vehicle, and in the heavier setting, the Chery definitely has stronger regen braking. So you're likely to charge the battery quicker when, you know, driving down a mountain or just riding the brakes more. The only positive thing I can say about the reversing camera is that it has one. The resolution is dog shit and there's no extra angles or 3D mode. It does have a 360-degree overhead camera though, which does come in handy. Overall, the Chery has the better interior fit out. It looks classier, it's got more tech, it's got more room, and it just feels a bit more modern. The only thing I like better about this car than the Chery is probably the steering wheel, which is lovely. Both cars have an impressive level of safety systems for budget vehicles and are able to accelerate, brake, and steer by themselves. Both of them aren't too annoying with the audio alerts either, which is a nice surprise. Rear seat provisions in the Chery are actually pretty good. I thought this would be like a prison cell and claustrophobic and tight, but room ain't bad back here. I've got pretty good headroom, I've got good knee room. My feet don't go all the way under the seats, but overall it's not too bad. Comfort levels too are pretty good. I've got adjustable headrest. I've got a pull-out armrest with cup holders. The seat backs don't recline, but you know, this is not too bad. I don't mind this at all. And you've got an air vent here, one air vent and one USB-A. Better than nothing, which is what you get in the Toyota. Reasonable storage, seat back pockets. You've got a door pocket here, and you've got the grab handles, reading lights up here, anti-pinch windows. Here we go. Okay, that hurt a little bit. I'm gonna need workers' comp eventually. Do this, you know, 20 years. Anyway. And this feature here, this little thing lights up to tell you if a car or a bicycle is coming past, so you don't open your door and then get it cleaned right off. This is a feature that's normally in much more expensive vehicles. It also has 2 ISOFIX and 3 top tether child seat anchorages and would be a better family chariot than the Toyota because it's a bit wider. Back seat room in the Yaris Cross is a lot tighter. There's better under seat room for my footsies, but knee room is like pretty damn close there. Headroom isn't too bad, but you really notice the width. There's way less shoulder width. There's no way you're getting 3 adults back here. I mean, you probably wouldn't do that anyway. 2 adults, easy. 3 kids, probably. Also, amenities not quite as good back here either. As mentioned, there's no air vent, there's no USB ports, there's no seat back. Oh no, I tell a lie, there is 1 seat back pocket there. You kind of have a armrest, but it's part of the back seat, so it's not quite as smooth, but you do get cup holders and you can look at the top tether anchorage. That's pretty funky. But seat comfort is not too bad. Overall, wouldn't want to spend too much time back here, and yeah, there's not as much stuff. You do get anti-pinch though, and it doesn't hurt as much. That's better. It's good. The Yaris gets 2 ISOFIX and 3 top tether child seat anchorages as well. All right, let's check out the cargo hold in the Chery first. And this area is reasonable, but it's not as big as the specifications suggest. And what's with this lump here? This is for the 12-volt battery, and what's happened is basically there's not enough room in the engine bay because of all the hybrid bits and pieces, so they've had to move it into the boot. You go, okay, that's fine, but this is going to absolutely annoy the crap out of me, not having that flat load floor. Anyway, boot space is reasonable for a car of this size. You get a big grocery shop in there. Can't quite fit the boog in here, which is a bit of a shame, but that's okay. Amenity, so-so. There's no shopping bag hooks. You've got the cargo net hooks that can sort of double as bag hooks. There's a very average light in here, but not much else. And there's a space saver spare tyre under here as well. You've also got 60/40 split folding rear seats to open up a bit more space. Neither car has a power-operated tailgate.
Thanks, heavens.
Yeah, well, there you go. It does open a bit quicker than a powered one. But the Toyota does its cargo space better. It's completely flat on the floor, and after measuring them, this one actually has a little bit more width between the wheel arches. And when you open up the concealed partitions here, there's a deeper floor. When you measure that, it's actually got more height in the boot as well. Oy. Overall, the Chery does have slightly more cargo space because it doesn't have that steeply angled rear windscreen like this one. So it's a bit more vertical instead of slope there. But overall amenity in this one feels a bit better. You've got that extra room with the concealed partitions here. You've got a bag hook. The light's still pretty average, but this cargo blind here is actually really cool because it stops prying eyes from seeing all your shopping and whatnot, but it's because it's so bendy, you can just fold it up, shove it under here, boom, out of the way. The Chery has bounced back with a win in this segment. It's got more features, more space, and better quality materials. Thus far, the Chery is edging ahead overall. Can it maintain this lead and win the comparison? Let's drive them and find out. So we're in the Chery, and I've been driving this for about a week now, and it's pretty good. Certainly feels better than some of the previous generation Cherys I've driven, like the C5. Ugh, that is not a good vehicle. The brake pedal is quite doughy. You have to sink the boot in quite a bit before the brakes work well. Although one thing that has been irking me quite a lot is the gear shifter. Yes, it feels good, but sometimes you have to like double click it. You get these false neutrals. So here we go. We'll pull in here to park. We'll stop. We'll chuck it in reverse. Oh, it went into reverse this time, but often it doesn't, and you've got to double hit it. And when you 1, 2, okay, that time, yeah, I had to hit it twice. It sort of got stuck in neutral. That can be frustrating. The powertrain feels genuinely eager, and this thing has plenty of pep in its step. Sometimes there's even a little too much muscle for its front drive layout, especially in sport mode. Those Salem tyres don't help either for both traction and cornering grip, but for daily commuting, they're fine. However, you do get a bit of wheel spin in the wet if you're overzealous. Oh, Those sailing tyres. Bit sketchy around the roundabout. The steering feels vague with a bit of a dead zone on centre, and it can suffer from kickback over potholes. Ride comfort is acceptable, better than expected, let's say. It can be a little stiff over bigger hits and speed bumps, and certainly isn't as compliant as the Toyota. Refinement levels in general are pretty good in this little Chinese chariot. However, the only real bugbear in terms of noise, vibration, harshness is that 4-cylinder engine. It does get pretty vocal when you're merging into traffic or you've got to really hustle up a hill. And another thing I've noticed is when it's transitioning between electric and petrol mode, you definitely hear this one more. The Toyota is more seamless and sometimes you don't even notice it. And I guess that's the difference between Toyota building these plugless hybrids for more than 2 decades now. I like that Chery has provided an over-the-air update for the safety systems so that when you turn off like lane departure warning or the speed sign recognition that beeps at you constantly if you do 1 kilometre over, when you turn those off and you turn the car off and turn it back on, they stay turned off. Now, if you want to get a 5-star safety rating from ANCAP, you're not allowed to do that. But car companies are getting around that by launching the car, ANCAP tests it, goes, oh, yep, it's got all the good stuff to annoy the heck out of people, but be super safe. And then they do an over-the-air update wirelessly and boom, it's all changed. I actually think that's not a bad idea because those beeps and bleeps are super annoying and probably more distracting. And I think it comes back to the fundamental concept that maybe ANCAP needs to look at some of how it rates its cars, because anecdotal evidence from you guys in the comments suggests you don't like the beeps and bleeps either. Okay, we're in the Toyota, and I don't know if you can hear that, but the EV sound is pretty loud in this, like a spaceship. Anyway, the difference between this and the way the Chery drives is quite pronounced, and it really comes down to the steering. This one feels more resolved because it doesn't have that dead zone off center and it doesn't feel vague like the Chery. The steering is more direct. The car goes where you point it when you expect it to. Not only does it steer better, it's more nimble and has more tire grip. Now, you'd think that acceleration and performance would be lackluster based on the engine specifications, which reveal it has much less torque and power than the Chery, but because it's about 1/4 ton lighter, they're actually pretty closely matched. This also highlights why it feels more agile and has less body roll. It also has better ride comfort with slightly better secondary ride quality, absorbing smaller bumps more effectively. Unsurprisingly, refinement levels are a little bit better in the Toyota. The higher quality tyres generate less roar and they don't squeal around roundabouts. And the engine is a little bit quieter too, and that transition between petrol and electric is smoother. The only area where the Chery ekes ahead, I think, is wind noise. You get a little bit more wind noise around the mirrors at freeway speeds in the Toyota. So in terms of drivability, the Toyota wins this round, which means the final category will decide the winner here. Put the kettle on because the tea is about to be spilled. Alrighty, I am back in the Chery to test fuel economy, and first I want to test what speed I can get it to from standstill, from 0 kilometers an hour in pure EV mode. So this one doesn't have an EV button. Just got to go to 0 and accelerate slowly. So far, so good. Give it a little bit more. It's actually not too bad. You got to do it so slowly in the Yaris that you'd be holding up traffic and probably getting road raged at quite vehemently. All right, we're at 40. Can we get it up to 50? Let's give it a bit more juice. It's pretty good. Oh no, there goes the petrol engine. How's this though? On our economy loop, there was a section of 90 kilometers an hour and I saw it flick into EV mode briefly with the light on the dash. So when you are sort of coasting or cruising at higher speeds, it will turn the petrol engine off to save fuel, which is good. That's what you want. It certainly seems more eager to use electric-only power than the Yaris. And overall fuel economy on our test loop, which was exactly the same for both vehicles, this achieved just over the official manufacturer's claim, which isn't too shabby at all. And that was without heavy urban use, so it could go even lower. And bear in mind, this vehicle will be way more efficient than the petrol-only Tiggo 4. Alrighty, back in the Toyota, and this is a company that has built its current reputation on hybrid technology, but oddly, this one is a bit less eager to engage its electric motor. That's because the battery in this Yaris Cross Hybrid is teeny tiny, just 0.7 kilowatt hours compared to the 1.8 kilowatt hour battery in the Chery. With that in mind, let's see what speed we can reach in pure EV mode. Okay, that's 1 kilometre an hour. Petrol engine just kicks straight in, but I can force it to go into EV mode. EV mode unavailable, hybrid battery low. Okay, that's annoying. Previous testing has showed it'll get up to about 45, 47 kilometres an hour. Okay, we're back in EV mode. 33, 34. No, engine's back in at 35. But look, that's still a little bit weak sauce. You know, for a company that has been building EVs for so long, since the late 90s, you kind of expect a bit more. Like the Chery, it can kick into EV mode at higher speeds when coasting, but it's fleeting. Blink and you'll miss it. Which is a bit odd because on the same test loop, it was more frugal than the Chery, coming in at under 5 litres per 100 kilometres. Yes, that's more than Toyota claims, but for this test, it still makes it the cheaper car to run. However, bonus points to both because they can use the most affordable 91 octane petrol. Nevertheless, the Toyota Yaris Cross wins the fuel economy duel. If you've been playing along at home and watching that scoreboard, Phil, you'll know the Yaris wins this battle. But it's not as clear-cut as you might imagine. I can see why the Chery is rocketing up the sales charts and why buyers are choosing this vehicle. It is absolutely packed with equipment, and the quality of the vehicle and the engineering has improved significantly compared to previous Chery vehicles. The Chery Tiggo 4 represents very good value. It's feature-packed, and to be honest, if this comparison was conducted 3 years ago, I wonder if it would have even been a contest. This is far from a knockout victory, but it's a win all the same. And it comes down to two things that are traditionally associated with Toyota: long-term value and everyday drivability. It's the stuff that actually matters when you're living with the car for 5 or 10 years. And I reckon the 3 or 4 grand you might save buying the Chery, you will easily recoup that when you go to sell this one down the track. So yeah, Toyota is playing it safe, maybe a little too safe, but the fundamentals are still rock solid. And until Chery proves that it can match that in the long run, the Yaris Cross is going to take the win. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked the vid. Leave a comment below. Is the Yaris the deserved winner? Is it the one you would buy? Is resale king? And also check out another video I've done on some cheap SUVs, one from Korea, one from India. SsangYong versus Mahindra. That is a fascinating test.